green roof there. Okay, and on the other side is POEA. All right, we've seen now that that's has grown. This is now the entertainment city in Pasay. Okay, this Dado Macapagal Avenue, when Asiana Park was still developing, it was as cheap as 50,000. They got the contract to what's that word for that? Reclaim the area. No, all right. So with that, okay.
Slowly, Robert.
Sorry, sorry.
Slowly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So in the Asian financial crisis, no, um, I'd like to do some comparables between where we were in financial crisis compared to today. Um, First of all, in the recent financial crisis, our economy wasn't that great at all. At that time, you know, dollar was at prior to the Asian financial crisis, we were at 26 pesos and 26 something, 26.35, and in a span of sometime in October of 1997, went up to 35, 36 pesos immediately. So at that time also, a lot of people and businesses were leveraged to the US dollar. So you can imagine the sudden abrupt change, because when the cost of money went up immediately. Okay. At that time also, we were like probably in the 60th largest, or as far as economy in the world. Compared to today, we are, as of last year, we cannot count the 2020 because of the pandemic, but we are, as of last year, we were 29th largest economy in the world, third in Asia after Thailand and Indonesia. At that time, banks were, we had the PPCom, not the PPCom, we still had the Far East Bank, failed some other banks. Eventually they all merged. And now the bank is very resilient and very strong. Also during that time, our main businesses were in agriculture, trying hard to be in agriculture in spite of all the calamities, because we're really not built for being an agricultural country. Unless we do something about the way we do our agriculture. Um, our main thing then was sending OFWs, okay, agriculture. In comparison, today we have BPOs, we have the OFW remittances, and the OFW, just for your reference, that time it was some maids and some engineers that went to Saudi Arabia. Whereas today, we've got nurses, we've got doctors, we've got teachers, we've got and other professionals that are in other parts of the world. No? So I remember the word brain drain sometime in the mid 90s when so many left the country, to migrate because of the low, you know, perception on how Philippines was. No, that time infrastructure was basically nil. Today, we are number one as far as building infrastructure. And of course, we are still far behind, but at least we're catching up. But we are number one in the whole world in building infrastructure. I mean, no one could compare. And so we're catching up. There's somebody saying, of course, that, okay, there's so much loan, and how can we pay for that? Well, it's something that should have been done 30 years ago. And for some reason that we don't, some of us know and some don't know, why was infrastructure stopped over the past administrations? No? So that's really highly questionable. Okay, infrastructures that we have now, look at all we're now having the subways, we've got the airports, we've got now that Guadalupe, that passive ferries there now. We did have the MRTs and the LRTs then, And the airports, I tell you, there, we've got the Sangli, we've got the San Miguel in Bulacan. Okay, so there's so much in difference, no? At that time, Cavite used to be a 2-hour drive. Now it's 45 minutes to an hour, given a certain day and hour, of course. Quality of life then was pretty much the disparity between the poor and rich was pretty far. I mean, it's still far now, but of course, some have caught up on the middle income, and even the poor have like gone up. They're living a little better life now, but still so much to do. Exchange rates then, as I said, within a couple of months upon the Asian financial crisis. By the way, the crisis really hit. Not in 97. It did start in 97, but we were hardly hit in 98 and 99. That's when the bank foreclosures happened, and businesses folded up. And the special purpose vehicle. We got the Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs. They bought the assets of the banks. So that's what happened. In fact, later on, they sold that for quite a profit. No. There were so many businesses that were leveraged. This is a big factor to consider compared to today. That time, there were so many businesses or individuals, business owners, multinationals that were hedged against the dollar. So much loan out there. Unlike today, there's less leverage. So you compare, that time, what happened? It was just a regional crisis. It started in Thailand, it went to Korea, then we got affected. Today, it's a global thing. Everything just stopped. Economy really stopped. There were no exceptions. Well, there were a few exceptions. Of course, the online businesses and others, no. But there was just a massive stop in the economy today. Nevertheless, I think it's not only me, but a lot of you could probably say that, okay, well, we're still doing okay. Um, in the high-end market, say Forbes, DASMA, or even, they're holding their prices. There's a few that had to be sold, but that's really far in between. But we're holding up. Although now we can see that the bank's non-performing loans it's getting to be a concern. Okay, but hopefully, the businesses will resume, and we can proceed with a better economy. Okay. Also at that time, we only had Makati, which has always been there, CBD, and we had Ortigas. Today, it's spread out. We've got the Circuit, we've got the McKinley area, we've got the Eastwood, we've got Balintawak, we've got Arca, we've got the Madrigal Business Park, we've got the Philippine Corporate City, we've got Santa Rosa Business Park, we got Cebu, we have also Iloilo, to name a few. There's so much more little packets of business district that are around. And more importantly now, I guess we go to the credit rating. Gosh, we were negative. We were unstable. That was our rating. We were unstable. Today we are in the investment grade. Okay, that's a big factor because when you are in investment grade, that shows confidence by the foreign market to the Philippines. Unfortunately, we don't see that in the foreign direct investments yet. As the people that left China during the pandemic, because what happened then? During the pandemic, there was basically a closure and everything. Nobody could fly out, and next thing they knew, gosh, everything was coming from China. So all these multinational companies, they had to do something about it. They had to move elsewhere where they could put saying you can't put everything in one basket. So it diversified. They went to Vietnam, and Vietnam at that time was prepared. They had all the nice incentives, which we could have provided. which I don't understand we didn't give, but and Indonesia, no? Okay. Um, and then the buildings, no? Gosh, so much buildings now, and how many malls were there during then? Now we've got malls all over. We've got grade A malls. We've got the small malls. We've got the the two-story mini mall, or well, it's called something else. I can't put it in my mind right now. Okay, all right. GDP. This is another research that I did. No? In GDP, the GDP in 1997 of the Philippines was at $91.2 million. In 2019, we stand at 397 billion. That's astronomical. Okay, our what do you call this? Our growth rate then in 1997 was negative 2.87. Oh, it just when the Asian financial crisis just hit. In 1998, because he said it hit a year and a half later. In 1998, we were at negative 22% of growth, negative 22. Today, or as of last year, 2019, we were at 6.3% growth. Here's another figure. In 1998, the per capita income of a regular Filipino stood at $958 per annum. In comparison today, a regular Filipino per capita is $3,598. So you see, we've moved up. Today we also rank around 29th in the world as far as GDP is concerned. No? So this is a brief history of the Asian financial crisis. So where are we at now? We've got this corona pandemic. It's something that's new, something that never has been around. Of course, we had the 1918 Spanish flu. We had the SARS. We have the thing, no? But as Donald Trump says, the likes we've never seen before. Really different, no? We're all, we had this. We went to this GCQ, MECQ. So for those that didn't know alphabet, that was a problem. Kaya malaking bagay yung, we knew our alphabets. Okay. And then we went through a lockdown. I mean, I tell you, I live in San Juan, in Green Hills, and I walk my dog every day, and I saw and I felt, just walking, I could see as I walked through around Unimart or Green Hills, you saw the stores locked up, so closed. But there was one here in Green Hills that continued operation. Chicken Anasal, right by the Padilla Art, that area by where the Musica is. No? Why were they able to continue business, and they were doing delivery, no dine-in? They were fortunate enough that all their employees were from San Juan, so they didn't have to go through the lockdown. Okay, I mean, because you cannot cross Pasig, then you cannot cross Quezon City. You need a quarantine or what? Or in the beginning, everything was just locked down. No, you're not. We're not gonna take you. Go back to where you came from. Here's one that we did. It's a let me raise this up. Okay, it's a checkpoint. I was viewing in New Clark City, so we get off on Esitex. So there's that checkpoint right there, But it was like that. So they were asking for travel pass. So it was always good. Like for me, I always had my business permit in the car, and I had a letter, and I had some I had some documents of a property to look at, just to tell, just to show that you are legit. And then of course your PRC license. It's very important. I also did have a swab test. Of course, they're good for 3 days, but nevertheless, I had it in a small folder right beside my chair in case of anything that can show like 10 documents immediately. So it's like, oh, they go, okay, oh, it's all right. Go ahead. You have a lot of documents. That really helps. Wait, how come I can't go to the next screen? Okay, why? There you go. Then we've got social distancing. Um, of course, when we're viewing, it's also difficult. With the face mask there, talking, having a hard time understanding, uh, what they're saying. But that's again something that we have never had before. Okay, now I have to click it. Then the COVID-19 essentials. Okay, it's from the face mask to the alcohol. Like, when I went to Unimart at that time, because I was going almost every day, and people were so scared. Oh, that's like a hot spot, Unimart, but always had my face mask, and I guess I got a strong immune system, but alcohol was limited to two a day wherever you go. So we would buy every day, if there is, I'll come in first thing in the morning. You're limited to two. I'd go to Mercury, get some more, and I was giving it to guards, in our building and in Club Filipino. Okay. Some of our networks did make money. Of course, magaling sa Pilipino eh. They always see opportunity. We are really survivors. So I saw some friends, networks, relatives, they got into the face mask business. They were selling alcohol. They were selling, wala pa face shield in the beginning. So what was then was the goggles that time. Okay. So supply chain, when China was locked out, or nobody could send out or receive DHL, nobody could fly out. There's a supply chain problem. Okay, so how could they supply? Let's say a meat could not supply a restaurant, and the restaurant could not operate without inventory. Then it's a snowball effect. It's a domino effect. For example, just in Unimart, again, just see how that's how analytical I am. In Unimart alone, I saw already like a simple pure food sausage, which Unimart normally had before. From that, from the time that we had the pandemic starting in March till today, they never had pure foods anymore. Not they had the corned beef, but they never had the sausage, the chicken and the pork sausage. So I have to go to Rustan's. So what happened was this manufacturers, they had their certain, probably it's because of the terms each one had with either Unimart or Rustan's or SNR. So there was a preference of where to deliver, or you're only, and then who are also affected, the mom and pop, the sari stores that would order 100 packs in a month. Why would I deliver to you? I can deliver 500 to SNR. So they were cut off. So now they either had to go there, and their costs were a little up, were higher, so their profit margins was also lower. So it's again, it's that's the effect of the supply chain. Next thing you know, the malls were having a problem, and even the restaurants here, even if you're along the road, they had to close down. Supply chain. There was like so many, not too many people. There were like no one going out. Everybody was scared of this virus. You wash your hands upon you get. We're so paranoid. We didn't know because it was something that was really, really new to us. This is not my office, but even my office in Makati. So I go there once or twice a month just to, pick up some stuff or just at least fill the place. I'm having it cleaned next week. And I try to use the internet that I'm paying for and I'm not using it. Tapo ng pera. Then I'm paying rent also. So I asked for a reduction in my lease rate. The owner gave me a very minimal. So So I cannot, so I just go with it because the Bayanihan Act, did say that lease will stop or you'll be exempt until this is over. No, it just says that you'll be given time to pay, but those things you have to negotiate already with your landlord. And so we all work from home. So when we work from home, we wanted to have our place look nice. We upgraded our computers. We upgraded all our gadgets, no? And the house, some did renovation. They realized I need a bigger space. Some moved into a bigger location. Um, that's what I encountered with some friends. We've seen people, because of the paranoid of going to condominiums and the protocols it entailed, they moved to they pre-terminated their lease, or some that were renewing, rather than renew, they moved to houses or single detached or townhouses. So all this, it boils down to sentiment. Sentiment plays a very important role uh, in everything that we do. A classic example on sentiment, before I move on to the COVID, is say Magallanes Village. Magallanes Village 5 years ago did a massive um, fixing of their flooding issues. So they diverted the culvert pipes. They did like a water pump. They did a double wall in Victoria Street. But the diversion of the diverting the culvert pipes to go into Pasay was really the key to it all. And so with that they said, okay, we're not going to be flooding anymore. And it was proven with the two storms that Victoria Street was it was a flash flood. It went to like 2 inches and then it went away. Nevertheless, property values still didn't go up because the demand to buy Magallanes was still on a negative perception, negative sentiment, because they still thought that it will still flood. The sentiment really takes a while to 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 get out or to be forgotten. Okay, today, or at least about 2 years ago, that sentiment slowly went over the hump and went down. And so now Magallanes is okay. It finally caught up with the other Makati villages. And so it's a low of 150 to a high of 210,000 per square. Of course, the 210 would be like on the three streets, where it never flooded, the Encarnacion, the Margarita, those streets, no? Now, going back to the sentiment. So what happened now? We've got inflation is up. I believe we are at 3.3 now, still doing good in comparison to the 1997 crisis. Inflation was at a high of 9%. Now we also have an economic recession, with everything going, everybody's businesses are affected. Income is, we still have to pay for our employees. At least some of us do, or most of us do. Some have already just given a 13, or like a separation pay, and decided to wait it out until this is over. Isn't it the buyer's market now? Total change around from last year when it was much a seller's market. So, and with that buyer's market, so the word that comes in is a pandemic price. Okay, so we've got another word is that we have the pre-COVID and the post-COVID price. Okay, and that's always a challenge. FDIs, foreign direct investments, are also down, and we've seen that.
Correct. Kailangan nagkakaedad na tayo.
Okay, that was.
Okay.
Can you mute?
Oh, picture na tayo dito bago tayo mag-swimsuit.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Can you mute the
Bago
other?
tayo mag-swimsuit, picture muna tayo.
Ay, hindi. Kumain muna tayo.
Okay, sige. Kain muna.
All right. Ronel, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Wait.
Maybe you should mute everyone. Okay. Baka mag-swimming na rin ako. Ah.
Ano dun ah?
Okay. Then we got the pogos. Wow, it's a mass. So they all left. Most of them left, but there's still some that are here. Okay, and so what got affected? So those ones that bought or leased out. Because what happened was when they came in, there's this village called Concord Village in Parañaque. It's just a stone's throw away from the airport. So I had when I was having problem with my arthritis, or I had an acupuncture done in my shoulder or um, in my arm. And so the guy, that's this Chinese guy, was saying, okay, that house across used to lease for only 30,000. Now with the pogos in there, it's 300,000 a month. So you now expound to other areas. The one bedrooms of SMDC were leasing for 45,000, where it was just leasing for 25,000 that time. So it became, for Filipinos that were all local, trying to lease became a challenge because it was not at our rate. Everything was changing, and they were all these property owners preferred of course, a much higher rate for the lease. So we were displaced. Same with the houses in the Dasmas or other areas because they were willing to pay higher. Same with the office spaces. The office spaces, when they were getting in, they would it's, let's say 500,000 per square when they were buying at MOA in developers, and they would offer 510, above and over the asking price or what the firm price was, just in order to get it. So that's what the POGO did. Okay, it did enrich the lives of some of the property owners that leased out to them, but now a correction is coming. It's a good thing that they are. They didn't really spread into every location. So in Makati, Pasay, but now they're in the provinces also, in Pampanga, and of course, business is good as long as we limit them and they pay taxes. No, so right now what they're going through is also the issue with BIR that they haven't been paying the right taxes, and BIR is now is now giving them an absorbent amount. So they're negotiating, no? OFWs, of course, because of business closures. So some of them did go back, and of course, this also affected the OFW remittances, no? Solaire, Resorts World, I tell you, with a limit of people coming in, 30%, they're still suffering. It will take a while because there's really a behavioral effect to all of this, this pandemic, what it's done to a lot of people. Dormitories, I tell you, I'm working on a friend that has a live, work, and play structure in the Manila area. And it was like the Poblacion, it's near the San Sebastian area. It's really fully filled up. 693 rooms, with like restaurants in there, some offices. It was basically 97% filled up. Great investment, great income that he's getting. That after the pandemic, because the schools had to go online, and most of them were like students, no? From 693, he was left with 27 rooms that was available. And out of the 27, 23 of those were foreigners that were stuck because of the lockdown. Philippine tourism, well, there's a good and bright side. Of course, it was first of, we couldn't travel, but at least now the bright side of this is that we all now appreciate the Philippines. Local tourism is up because we cannot, it's still a challenge to go abroad, and it's more viable for most of us to go to other destination places. So of course, Boracay. I've seen so many people going to Balisin. We got to Dumaguete, some other places, in the Philippines. Hotels hardly hit. It will still take a while also, no? But some of them were converted, of course, not the Shangri-Las or But let's say the Sogos were converted into quarantine hospitals, and that really helped during the pandemic. Resorts still down, but they're recovering, and they're just seeing a brighter 2021. We're looking at a very bright 2021. We needed turnaround, no? Malls are hardly hit. It will take some time before they really recover. Okay, because not only, I would think that I would assume that probably about easily 30 to 35%, especially the seniors, no? And they frequent the malls quite a bit. My dad's one of them, and my stepmom. And no, they don't want to be exposed. In fact, they're probably the part of the 20% that never went out of their condominium all throughout this 9 months. Okay. Of course, if that closed, if the malls closed or were hardly hit, so would be all the retail stores in there and even outside. No, but of course, it's really the malls that were hardly hit. So when the stores close, what happens? It's against a snowball effect when you look at it. Unemployment, people have nowhere to go. The supplies, they were selling at at a discount before they sell, or they will sell it at online just to recover some of their cost. Okay. In the meantime, if you were a mall owner, and your tenant wants to move out, you'd give a lot of concession. They would ask for 50% discount and rates with no escalation. So you as a developer, you try to negotiate, not giving the whole thing, but of course you try to get something back. You'll only give about 2 years. The same thing would go with also leasing on condominiums, because I've seen some friends that sold their condominiums in hoping, let's say they had a 2-bedroom or they had a 1-bedroom. They sold, not at the peak price, but of course, if they had some profit, they had to also lower their profit margin and hold on to cash, hoping that in about a year or two, they can get a bargain on a 2-bedroom house or a 2-bedroom condo and upgrade their lifestyle. Okay? The oil companies, I drive a diesel, and I was at the bottom. I was able to, I whenever I get gas, I have a record sheet. I guess the mileage, the date, how many miles I ran, how much is the gas worth or the diesel worth at that time, how much did I fill it up, and the total cost of my carga. It was as low as 28 something. So now we're back at 35 already on diesel with Petron. No? Okay, so they were also affected, and then in fact, of course, you go back to where the suppliers are. They had to stop operation because there was no supply. And if you look at the previous, not here, it's the next photo. There was a photo. The airline industry was also badly hit because there was no travel. Okay, so when there's no travel, there's no oil, there's no travel agency. So it's really quite a hit on everything. No, okay. So with that, with all these things happening, there were market trends that did happen. Online shopping started, and in fact, we've got so many friends that got into the food business already and started selling online. Okay, with deliveries, door-to-door delivery. Okay, so we've got the Lala Moves, we've got the Grabs, and the one that came in recently, and actually is doing very well and it's faster than the competition, is Mr. Speedy. Okay, I think there's 2 more groups that are opening up, but you will just hear about them. No, okay. Then all these things came about. The payment gateways. No, this is not about Bitcoin. This is the GCash, the PayMaya, the PayPal. I had myself a GCash, and I took time. Remember, I'm more of a senior, so it took me time to do that. I still haven't used Gcash, but yeah, at least it's in my app. I still have to use it. But my PayMaya, as it was my staff that was doing that. I'll give them the account and put the money in, so they were the ones making the payment. But because of the pandemic, I had to do it on my own and deposit to my account, and so that I could learn it. So I deposited, let's say 3 months ago, say 5,000 pesos worth. I did not know how to use it until one day I had an order in a restaurant and they had to pay Maya. So somebody, the cashier guided me through it. So actually very convenient, when you do that. No? Okay. Online marketing. So a lot of us, or most of us, if not, well, of course, there's some exceptions. No, we're now doing online marketing. Actually, some of us have been doing that for quite some time. I personally have had my website for about 26 years. So I've moved from different postings, from free to, the WordPress to a, what do you call this, web application. So I now pay for my domain, my name, robertgsarmiento.com, and Philippine Commercial Properties. But we've got 4 other websites also. Okay. That's okay. Now, also, what became a new trend was the 360 virtual, because people can't go out on viewing, and COVID and pandemic and lockdown. So we had to take a video in order to bring our clients to the place, and also saving us our time. So you get to view it one time, do the videos already, and so that's what you can forward. Some are really incredibly nice on their video programs, no? Okay. Okay. Then e-commerce. With the advent of all this online payments, e-commerce security became really an important thing. I myself got hacked 4 years ago. Then I got hacked again about a year and a half ago on my website. It took my developer 2.5 months to fight the hacker. They were Russians, no, Bitcoin Russians that were Russians that were into Bitcoin businesses, no. So of course they would ask for astronomical price in order to get your website. So we fought it out, and so one thing that my developer missed out was providing maintenance. What is a maintenance on a website? They have to upload. They have to back up your website twice a week, so that all the posts, everything in there is backed up. So if somebody crashes it, or it crashes, or somebody hacks it, you can just bring it up right again, or rebuild it with everything in there. So with that last hack that we did, that they fixed about a year and a half ago, they basically, we lost about 70%. So it was basically the skeleton that was left. So we had to build up. I had to, re-input everything. I have over about 2,000 inputs in my website alone, in one particular website. So imagine the time and effort to put that all in, and I cannot assign that, because I have my own way of doing things. So what happened? Okay. Sorry, huh? Wait, huh? Okay. Um, anyway, while I'm doing this, do you have any questions that you want to ask me for now? Ronel, can you guys hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, you guys, while I'm fixing this, you guys wanna have any questions you wanna ask? Something happened to my sharing again.
Yeah, it's still on. It's still on, Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be that. Thank you for that. You sharing quite a history actually, and it really goes to show on how our industry, or even for us in terms
Period.
of
Yeah.
the
Okay.
state is pushing in.
Thank you. Now I could continue. I'll just do this.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Uh, so with that, siyempre, there's so much e-commerce going on. There's so much online payments. Everything's on the internet. So now you hear words. Where you're being warned by your banks about phishing, and you have to be careful about this. You're gonna, somebody's gonna text you. We have uh, an account waiting for you. Text us your password, whatever. Either through email. So be careful about these things. If it sounds or if it looks kind of like doubtful, then that's it already. Don't bother about it. Then we've got what's this online education. Okay, um, apparently from what I'm hearing, it's not the same, but we have to make do. Okay, with that, no. Okay, um, for now, the problem with online is that our internet are all not standard or up to date. No, I mean, I got my when we meet with my staff, once from Las Piñas, once from um what is this somewhere in Lagro, Quirino, and once in Mandaluyong. And the internet vary, so there'll be a lag. They cannot get in. It's slow, so that's something that we really have to improve on. Hopefully the internet companies, the telco companies, will do something about that. That's really an issue. I like last a month ago or 3 weeks ago, I visited my office. And prior to the pandemic, that was in March. So in January, I was getting a bit ticked off because the internet in the office was really slow. It was a PLDT. So I went there. I had to go myself because to avoid the authorization and that sort of stuff. And so I met with the customer service. I go, "Hey, I want the top upgrade. Okay, give me what not the top of the line, but what would give us a good speed." So it was worth 4,005 or 5,000, and it was a business plan. So for the next 2 weeks, when it was finally installed, wow, our internet was, yes, that's the way it should be with three of them there, or sometimes. Then our speed was up. It was really faster then. So what ticked me off was about a month ago. I went there, so I turned on the telephone because everyone would turn everything off. So I turned it on. I turned on the internet, and I was trying to get in. The internet wasn't working. So and I'm paying 5,000 for that. Minsan mo lang gagamitin, hindi pa available, minsan mo lang, so that really, something about these telcos that really have to improve their service, no? Then we got into the Zoom, okay? This is the way now, the new way of networking with people, with our networks and keeping our relationships close, or even building relationships, no? So a lot of you and there's so much free webinars out there. It's a great time for some to build their brand. Great time to be exposed without going out. Some really, we've got a friend that's like really monetized his business during this pandemic, and I'm happy for him. No, it's really been good taking advantage because there's always in every crisis, whether it was 1997 or the 2008, there is always an opportunity out there, and you just have to take advantage. No, these webinars, they're free. There. I see some now that are charging, because of course they would do this before naman talaga. So, but it is really an opportunity also to do webinar. There's so much that the webinar could do for us without leaving our homes, and we can learn, share experiences, and still build relationships. I always emphasize relationships. I've been emphasizing that for the past 30 years already. I myself got into the opportunity of getting to the stock market. I've been doing that for 30 years also. And of course, I've paid my dues. But, when the pandemic hit in March, my portfolio was down by almost 60%. So with that, there's ways of balancing everything, and market has been up. In fact, it's very active now. It's very good. It's all positive, and so I've caught up with that one also. I mean, I've profited and took advantage of that upside of the stock market. Another one is wellness, because of the concern of the pandemic. Everybody, most everyone are into wellness, into tourism. Uh, since they're now doing webinars, they're personal care, beauty, anti-aging stuff also picked up on their businesses. Um, uh, these things that before you enter the house that you step on. That got in. Obviously, the gyms, it cannot go. So people bought gym sets for their houses. Bicycles, became a thing, which is good, because that's not only health, but it also relieves us of traffic. So lesser people driving on the road. Yeah. But lately, gosh, I guess it's almost back, but it's still a little faster than before the pandemic, no? So it's still moving. But nevertheless, traffic is definitely back, no? Okay. And then, of course, healthy living. People appreciate that now more, no? And with that, they research on things. I see there was a time when somebody came out with a blog at Facebook and Viber, and they shared it that ginger is magical in avoiding pandemic. So knowing me that I go to Unimart almost every day to pick up stuff, whether it's buko, fresh buko, or ice or something. Um, I noticed that the ginger, there's this Chinese group that finished. So if you're not there by 11 o'clock, it's gone. It's gone. So what Unimart did was increase the supply. So at that time, now it's back to norm, and of course now it's okay lang. Those ones that were hoarding it or buying it has kind of leveled off already. Okay. Property management also. Some were they realized that, gosh, we got to be up to par on our management people that's managing our building. So some condominiums associations decided to change to more professional ones, to stricter ones. So the no name management companies, or they were just being used by the developer. They were replaced by professionals. I mean, one of the ones that initially started the strict protocols was Surrendra. I think a lot of you would know or have heard. You have to pay basically 4,300 or 4,500 just to have a viewing. Okay, you have to pay for the PPEs, for the guard that would bring you there, to the disinfectants of the unit, that sort of thing. No, okay. Dining, when it started coming back, was al fresco. There was paranoia to be inside a place, a restaurant. So if you had an al fresco, that was really helpful and preferred. Also, on a preference in condominium, we've seen inquiries saying that, okay, on even on low end, let's say, or let's say not low end, but let's say on a DMCI condo or a townhouse, they prefer something with a balcony. Why? Because they want to breathe some fresh air, rather than just spending everything inside a house. No? Okay, so that also became like a trend. No, beach properties became very popular. I myself would drive almost every other week to Punta Fuego, Kawayan Cove, Tali Beach, the Natipuan area. Um, um, it's just gone up so much. I remember we sold it even at 14,000 in Kawayan Cove. That is now up to, that particular lot could sell at probably 25,000 per square now, 27. In Punta Fuego, we made sales at 16,500. That same lot would probably sell now at about 27. Punta Fuego, for some reason, has a more is more desired by end users and investors. Why? Because probably that's where main Fuego is. The terrazas is secondary, but believe it or not, it has a stronger protocol. You got to have a swab test, before you enter. Okay, I don't know if that's changed. I haven't been there, no, but I'll be there soon, no. Okay, yeah, and also when you're getting into beach properties, everybody wants unobstructed view. Most everyone will not get an unobstructed view because there's nothing available. So what you get is a lot, is a property that will have a view when you build on your second floor. So I'm not saying there isn't any, but there will be some. But God, they're pricey. I mean, in Fuego alone, cliff lots or the unobstructed lots would be a buy already at 50,000 per square. Okay, so the inner lots, that's where the 25, if they're just facing the, a certain beach, because there's like what 5 or 6 beaches in Fuego. Okay, this particular lot that we're looking at right now, this would fetch about because that's already a bangin, no? So even though they build, you still got a commanding view. This would not go lower than 45,000 per square. Another one that I've been doing also is traveling to Tarlac and New Clark Green City. Those New Clark Green City, why? Not everyone could get in. You're chosen, you got to qualify, and then the last one is it's a long-term lease. So you don't own the land. So what we're selling are properties outside that are titled and will appreciate, and that you don't have to pay lease. So that's been moving. Same thing here with Crescendo. We've been selling lots along the Luisita Access Road. Remember, Ayala Crescendo is about, I guess, about 250 hectares or something. And it was part of the Hacienda Luisita. So there's still another expansion site, but it's definitely a place to look at. No? In fact, you notice NLEX before didn't have the signage of Tarlac. Now when you drive to NLEX, you've got Tarlac right there already. So you've got the exits of SETEX, Concepcion, Luisita, it's there. And those weren't available, those weren't visible then. So, in this crisis, there's always a recovery. We are going towards that, if it's like a mountain, we were so down, we're climbing up the mountain now, and we're just right at the peak before, we're at the recovery stage. Okay. All this time we've seen resilience. We've been very resilient. Property owners are holding on to their prices. They're not giving in. Although there's some that are really cashing out. And so, but that's far and between, no? And there's very few of them that are doing that yet, unless they're really motivated to sell. In fact, what I've seen is also, let's say I got a client that owns 10 properties. It's got 6 condos, a Tagaytay Highland, got a beach property. So they sold 4 condos. They realized, gosh, all these things. They realized after the pandemic that life can just go so fast when you get this virus. No, so another thing that with the pandemic, with the lockdown, more families got closer. They got to know each other better. Although of course we hear some challenges also with some with some families not getting along. They all need space from each other. That's why bigger floor areas are now desired. We cannot live in a 100 square meters. We need 200 square. I need my space. I need my own solemn area. Okay. This is as of this is a from the Economist. If you can see, it's really a perception. We ourselves have to believe that the Philippines is up and coming. We're in the top emerging countries in the world. In fact, if you look at our financial strength, we are number 6. This is as of first quarter of 2020, I believe. 2019. 2020. Yeah. Okay. So look at who's ahead of us. Taiwan, South Korea, Russia, Philippines there. We're above this. This is with regards to financial strength. Okay, so we got so much dollar reserves. The government is very smart on loaning. We're borrowing rather than using our own reserves. Okay, China is number 10. Vietnam is number 12, but they may catch up because there's a lot of FDIs that went there. Uh, Indonesia's number 16. India's number 18. Um, Malaysia's number 25. Okay, Brazil's number 30. Then I'm looking for US. Uh, I don't think it's even part of this one. It's not here at all. See? In fact, when you look at their banking, they're below. Tayo nasa 2% pa yung pautang natin. So they're below the basis point already. They're printing money. If you would like to learn more about financials, Google Sam Gell, and also Peter Schiff. You will learn a lot from these guys. They're really economists. They're very, very good. No, I always watch them so I can have a better perspective of the financial, because finance has always been one of my weaknesses. No? Banco Central has been very, ever since naman our bankers have been very conservative. Okay, it just so happened in 1997. There wasn't much to work on. We came from that was Arab then was the president. They did some good things, but of course, there were a lot of issues with the way the financials were mismanaged, or the government was mismanaged then. No? Okay, but our Banco Central has been really doing a good job. In fact, for the longest time, was our past one. He was even voted as the best governor in the whole world. No? Okay. Our peso is doing so well. I myself in cash replaced my dollars because I got out at around 48.40. It's now doing 48, 47.95. And I pumped that into the stock market, and which I've gotten probably about 30-40% return already so far, and it's still sitting there. Okay, we're very, very strong as far as our pesos. So we look at that in comparison to the dollar. We may even go lower than 47, maybe around 47.50 by, I don't know, first quarter of next year. Mortgage interest rates, right? In comparison to 1997, where interest rates went up to 22%. Okay, now we've got mortgage at what, 6 to 8%, right? And also, what makes it affordable is that unlike 1997, we now have 30-year mortgages. The Pag-ibig has been funded, and we can do the 30 years. Of course, if you qualify, like a senior like me won't qualify anymore because hanggang age 65 lang yan. But if you're young, 30, 40 years old, then you can still do a 20-year term, no? Which is very good because after 5 years, you can pay off, or you can flip the property and then turn it around for a profit. No? But that's a big thing. That's because that's low mortgage interest rates. It jumps up the property buying of investors, no, and end users as well. The government came out with the stimulus, no, which I'll talk in a little bit. I think 2 slides later. Now with the COVID-19 vaccine coming, we've got the Moderna, we've got the Pfizer, and Sinovac. Things are looking bright, no? Of course, again, with this COVID vaccine, that turned around the sentiment. Parang people are now more optimistic about the economy. People are, things are opening up. Okay. Together with that, during this crisis pandemic, we've seen properties outside Metro Manila prosper and become busy. For the longest time, I tell you, Victoria Valley, Antipolo, Park Ridge, and Victoria in Valley Golf, was as low as 2.5 per square. It was about 7,000 about the end of last year, I think. It's now doing 14,500. Okay. What else? The on the south, the properties from the Alabang area to the South Ridge to the Bellevue, in the New Valleys, they've all appreciated now, and they're very much in demand because people want to get out. And what makes it possible is because we've got all these roads and infrastructure to complement that. No? Okay, provincial properties, even because the general sentiment also. Again, I'll be using the word sentiment quite a bit because it's really a lot to do with remember, buying or investing is an emotional thing. No, so you feel that you want to buy, you feel that it's going to be good, you feel that it's going to appreciate, or you feel you have to cash out if it's going to go down. So sentiment is a very, very important word. No? So developers have been looking outside. Why? You look at, they're closed. Their minds are just closed on investing in Metro Manila. Because even though it's a good price now, they see so much upside outside Metro Manila. From the Taytays to the Laguna, Bulacan, Calabarzon, Iloilo, Cebu. They'd rather go there. They look at the upside because they could develop the market anyway. And there's so much untapped market out there. Okay. Also, those affordable housings, anywhere from about 4 to 6 million, have become very popular. They really moved. No, I got friends that have their housing projects in Cavite and Laguna. They're busy. They're busy. In fact, the demand is high. They're like looking at other projects now. So as a developer also, you're now looking to expound or to reinvent yourself, come up with more values, because that's what it takes. Almost everyone's doing the same thing. So you gotta do something a little bit different, provide more value, provide, let's say, a packet garden, provide, let's say, a nicer indoor thing in your house, in what you're building. You lower your stairs, rather than make it nicer, like senorita steps. No? You make your kitchen more open to the living room. That sort of thing. Actually, if I were to build, I'd copy something made in Indonesia or made something in Japan. In Japan, it's only 100 square meter lot, but look at what they make out of it. It's very nice, no? So with this, again, in line with that, this is in Tagalog, but it's called Balik Provincia. It's a Balik Pag-asa. That's what the government's trust was, no? So with the stimulus that I was mentioning earlier, this is what the government came up with. It was the Bayanihan Act 2 already. Okay, first it came out with the Bayanihan Act 1, and then now it's the 2 to like extend payments and reduce. One thing we have to realize, it's nothing's free. So it just gives us time to recover or to pay our bills, no? But also the Bayanihan 2 Act is now being complemented by the Create Bill. Okay, what the Create Bill will do, it's going to be a great incentive for multinational corporations and also for companies that want to get into the Philippines, because there's an incentive we're finally lowering our corporate taxes. That's a big incentive because we're one of the highest in Asia. Okay, so that's going to be reduced to 30, 25, and at least I think even at 20%. No? With all this happening, we were even also given an upgrade by Japan Credit Rating Agency to an A-. Of course, their credit rating is good, no? However, what's stricter are the Fitch and the Moody's and S&P's. Among the threes, Moody's and Fitch are like the strictest. Although they all gave us as of last year, they didn't see any change in upgrade, so we can just maintain. But we are already in the investment grade, We are at stable at B. What is this? With S&P, we're at BB plus. At Moody's, we are BAA2, and Fitch is BBB plus. You can look this up. on the internet what credit ratings mean. No? But unlike before, way back in 1997, we were our credit rating was unstable. That's the category we were at. Housing price trends. We recently did some sale on some villages, and properties have been holding. Let's say in White Plains, and people are trying to bid at 135. They wanted a pandemic price, but my sellers they're not budging. So the price was agreed to 150,000 per square. Okay, at around 375. There's something at 360. I don't know if it's been sold, but that's a good one. I don't see that going longer than, or if it hasn't been sold, I don't see that going longer than 90 days. No, but this is the mindset of my investors. Robert, baka babaksak pa. So it's a challenge as a broker and their consultant. What's going to go down are like areas that are not preferred because at the end of the day, it's location, location, location. I got a call from my friend who was given a great deal by a developer somewhere in the south in West Service in the service roads, a condominium, and it was a great deal that he's trying to unload. Well, just in parallel to 1997, where are people buying? They're buying at the primest location now because what happened now with this pandemic, there became a buying sentiment among all, if not all, most of our clients. Why? What happened is a once in a lifetime thing. So the ones that missed out 5 to 10 years ago, they're now trying to take advantage and get back and at least get a piece of the pie. So if you're not doing that yet, I suggest you go back to your clients and do what needs to be done. Again, it boils down to relationship and also being persistent. If I were your client, and there's three brokers that are calling me. You call me once. There's another broker that calls me every day, and another broker that hardly calls me. I'll probably end up closing a deal with the ones that calls me every day. So it's really, being resilient and being persistent. And but it's not about the selling. It's about showing your true concern, your empathy towards giving them a good portfolio and what's good for them. No, and you can prove this. That's why some of this should be at the back end of my talk, but it's in line with what I'm saying now. What I'm doing now is that I'm getting testimonials from all my clients through Viber, and I'm copy pasting that to my website just to show that those testimonials would be basically advertising or really giving me a free advertisement to deal with me. REITs, real estate investment trust, has been around for, actually this was enacted I think over a decade ago. The thing was the government wasn't giving the incentives or the tax incentives in particular to these companies. Only now that they relaxed and probably gave the thing. So Ayala, that's a REIT now, you can see. And Double Dragon got into it. Megaworld will be getting it. Because they're already in there. Look at Megaworld. How many office buildings do they have? How many malls do they have? Okay. Look at Ayala. If you were to look at the conglomerates, Metro Pacific, okay, they have several businesses, from infrastructure to properties to hospitals. So REITs will be something good, but the complaint right now or the main downside is, in other countries you get a 12% dividend annually. 10 to 12. And over here, they're only promising about 6 to 7%. Okay. Yeah, that's still based on performance. PEZA, this is a main thing that needs to be addressed. as of a few months ago, there were about a little over 15 buildings occupied for multinationals and foreign companies because they need the tax incentive. That's one reason we lost out to Vietnam. Vietnam offered so many things, from the taxes to concessions in low rate, their lease rate, ownership, whatever. Super, super great incentives that we didn't give. Okay, but hopefully, so I see this PESA is something that all the government has to do is approve it without any more cost. Because gawa na yung building eh. So I don't really see the logic why they're holding back. Why? Because they wanted to move it to Davao. They wanted to move it to Iloilo. I mean, to move it to Iloilo or Davao, they still have to build the buildings. They still have to build the infrastructure. Let's take care of what's ready now. I think that's something that has to be addressed. I hope this is really reached out to those government officials. I mean, I'm sure there's some of them that they realize this, but I don't know what's the holdup of it. Manufacturing, okay, of course. So what happened during the we're still getting some of this manufacturing. Why? Because we've got a great PESA, leader also. And the racket, there's not much red tape. So the manufacturing here is good because we've got good workers primarily. Another one is that is making a comeback are the ITs and the BPFs and the BPOs. No? David Lichu already mentioned this in his report. No? But they will be around. They'll have they're already taking up. They're coming back. Okay. Another thing is and you notice, we've got the subways coming. Okay, we've got all these roads. How many roads? From the Visayas to Metro Manila or to the NCRs, zone, Central Zone, even up to Tagaytay and to the Calabar Zone. And there's so many roads in YouTube. Dimitri Valencia, everything's there. In fact, I blog about that every once in a while when I get a chance. Okay, another infrastructure. You look at our MRTs. This weren't around during the Asian financial crisis. Now we've got the MRTs, we've got the LRTs, we've got the expansion, we've got the improvements. We need more trains for the MRTs. Because gosh, it's already built up there, but we need more trains. Kaaway mga nakapila, no? All right. Now we also see airport infrastructures. The Cebu is, if you haven't been there, it's beautiful. And then up and coming are Sangli and also the Bulacan. Okay. Renewable energy. This is really one of the businesses. In fact, I'm servicing a fund, hedge fund, that are into 5 businesses. They were into restaurants, they were into resorts. That's already filled up. So looking still at IT companies, information technologies. We're looking at renewable energies and healthcare. Those are 3. Because healthcare will be something. What's missing now are, like in the healthcare industry, we see a lot of new disease or sickness that are not being addressed. The bipolars, the Alzheimer's, the Parkinson's disease. So we need a facility or more facilities that could specialize in this kinds of sickness. When you do those things, it adds up value to the country. So this is something hopefully that more investors will look at. Logistics, with the advent of online business, and it will be that way. This is already the new norm. In fact, I've been doing logistics for the past. Um, when Ayala bought FTI, I saw the big opportunity there, so I positioned myself. So that's, I guess, one way of me sharing also that if you put your mind and effort into it, 100%, nothing less, you can gain it and you can get it. Because I was, before the warehouse business, I passed it on to a network, and so we would just split. But when I want to get into it, I really drove around, look at the signages, knocked on doors, research on the internet, the company names, did some emails until I got more and more property listings. Okay, and they will always expand. Okay, remember, you always have to look at your book of business because those are already your clients. They already are. You already sold yourself to them. They're already sold. They're already sold on you. So why look elsewhere? Work your own book of business. No, okay. Warehousing, so exciting. From the commissaries, the restaurants. When the malls closed down, they realized, wow, we were so badly affected. We got to open a place elsewhere to do our commissary. So we've serviced one or two so far during this pandemic that didn't have a commissary. So now they have a commissary for their takeout and everything's there. Okay. And that will continue to grow. As always, we will always have these disruptors. Right this very moment, somebody out there uh, is drawing up some plans, some new schemes, some new payment schemes or internet software to help us adapt to the new norm. There was always been this new disruptors, and who are these disruptors? They were like the likes of Jack Ma. They were like the likes of Steve Jobs, Amazon, Jeff Bezos. So these are a few, but there's always somebody out there that will be doing that. No? And the millennials, gosh, they're just admire them that for their belief and on themselves, and they will be the ones that bring us. Of course, meron pa mga Gen Z yan, Gen Y, okay, but they are the future, So we've got to actually relate to them as far as our real estate's concerned. We got to relate to them on ethics, because full-blown professional ethics will not happen during this generation. We still are going to continue to have unethical practices. We're still going to have the colorum brokers, maybe in a span of 2 generations. But it's something that we really have to address. No. What also brought out during this pandemic are some behavioral effects. There were some mental illnesses, some depressions. But I mean, after this is over, or even while we are going through it, there are people that have already affected by it. Some that had their relatives or close friends pass away during this pandemic. They're forever warped. Okay, they may recover, but there's a scar already in there. Some may never go back to the malls. Okay, I know some that are just so paranoid until, even though after they have the vaccine, they just probably never will, because anyway, there's online. So there's going to be a shift, really, and I've seen that, and I think it's just going to grow. Okay, but there definitely is a behavioral effect to all of this. No, some that were all coped up in their homes had some depression issues, and that's why going outside, but they were so limited. But now that they're finally seeing the beach, they're happy. They're able to breathe. They have their space from people that they live within the house. No. Also, what's always sad is that, okay, so now we got a buying opportunity. In fact, there will always be, okay, clients. No, we have clients that are different levels. One that is like they grab opportunities. Baka bababa pa yung presyo, but they think it's within their spectrum of buying opportunity already. So they buy. There's one that will wait, and there's some that taga-tanaw lang ng tanaw, mga taga-tanawan. Okay? And they never end up doing anything. They miss out opportunities. I remember some that, the ones that missed out 5, 10 years ago. Now, there will still be some that will miss out opportunities during this pandemic because, there are opportunities to buy commercial properties. There are motivated sellers on resorts. It's a good time because if you can get them for a good value, why not? Okay, one of the biggest examples of buying at a great deal was Ayala Land and Greenfield when they bought Bonifacio Global City from Metro Pacific during the crisis. Chumepo, that was the time of Metro Pacific, 1995. And, so they went to the house and they tried to make a do out of it. But eventually in 2003, they really couldn't handle it anymore. That's when they sold to Ayala and to Greenfield. Okay. I have, if you want, by the way, I'm almost done with this. If you want current market values of properties, I can, you can just email me. I can send them to you. This is my email. Okay. Then I can send you what I have. I do my best to do an updated property value almost every quarter. Been doing that for the last 30 years already. So it's something that I like working with numbers. Okay.
Wow,
So,
nice. Thank you, Robert.
okay. So with that,
Robert,
yeah.
Can we do some Q&A? There are some questions that came in.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I have like 5 or 6 here with me. Let's start off with Miss Cha Yave. She talked about land banking. Do you think it's a good opportunity, especially for the coming year, 2021, about land banking? What's your thought on this?
Yeah, well, it would definitely depend on where you're land banking, no? But definitely there's some opportunities to go out there because we're right now it's still people are thinking it's if it's a pandemic, and everything will just turn around once as we move on to next year. Things are really rosy and looking better. Okay, optimism is up in the air.
Again, I guess it goes well also when you mention about buyer's market, seller's market, and trying to identify the right location, probably, no?
Yes,
And us as a practitioner, working with our clients, we really need to really engage ourselves with them and try to know what they really wanted.
that's right. You have to realize or find out there are areas that are not yet in the radar. Okay, what's not yet in the radar? Okay, let's say a property in I remember selling a property right next to Arca, the next subdivision, UPS 4, UPS 1. UPS 1 at that time was selling at 42, and kabakod lang, the other bakod was already Arca South. So it was not in the radar yet, but somebody bought it. And that same lot is now going at 55. It was just about a year and 2 months ago. So I have something now, let's say at UPS 4. Wow. It so happens, this lot is, it's not in the radar yet. And recently, the subdivision allowed subdivision of lots. So if it's like a corner lot, 471, you can subdivide it to 200 something. Then it becomes feasible for a build and sell developer selling at 23,000 per square pa lang. Okay, so those are things that I focus on. Siyempre, because if you try to work on let's say in Makati, there will be buyers, but your niche market will be so small. Some find it okay because pag nadaan naman yan, malaki, di ba?
Yep.
But
Yep.
there are, with my operation, I'm used to transacting a lot. We'd like to transact because it's not only when you transact a lot, dire-diretso ang negosyo. There's something at the back of your mind. Your subconscious is positive. You're closer. You do things. You help out people. You move on. You move on to the next listing, and that's the way it should be. for if you can handle. Because some, like me, I'm in general brokerage. Some can't do general brokerage all at one time. So when the crisis came at that time, I guess one of my most memorable sites that I closed a lot on. I did most of the commercial leasing in C5 then when there was no Eastwood. So I don't know if you recall C5 then by Acropolis. Those
Yeah.
were like the Jerry's, the Crocodile Grill,
Yep,
the
yep.
Ponana, the what do you call this? Where the Causeway building is, Chicken
Yes.
Bacolod, so Sushia. Yeah, I did about 12. And when I did that, Chinese were calling me already. They were happy from 40,000 per square then, and Lotte nila became 60 in about a year's time. That dramatically, so I was getting a lot of listings there too.
Okay.
Remember, if you're in this industry, okay, and you are, if you capture if your client portfolio is about 60 to 65% Chinese, you will do great in this business. So try to capture them. That's
In the same thought, Sol Alcantara was also asking, given the crisis, with your experience, do you think it's better to conserve cash or buy property?
Well, there's two thoughts to that. One is on there's that hope that property values will still go down, and it just might. Okay, because historically, when you look at Asian financial crisis, it did, it happened in '97 when the domino started falling, but the big hit happened in 1998 and 1999. So now we're still early on to really assess. So some are still in denial, but on the other hand, we see less leveraged people, but there will be some. So how many of that will be available? I'm not really sure, no. But if there are some good deals that you feel there are good deals, and it's within your buying spectrum, property is property. They always appreciate.
Okay. Bert Winley asked about residential escalation. Probably this will be more on leasing. So what do you think is the forecast? I think there are a lot of property experts, David Lee, even some of the groups. What's your take on the property escalation for next year?
I don't think there's going to be an escalation. Are you asking escalation on leases? Because that's what it.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, I doubt there's going to be any more escalation yet, because we would like to see there will be more people probably. Because it's not just the property market, that's going to affect the property owners. Their businesses are also affected. So if their business is affected, then they would need some cash flow. So rather than lose that tenant that they currently have, they will probably preserve that rather than take a chance of losing and then finding a new tenant. And then that new tenant will also give them a hard time about getting a low rate, and then going on a long-term lease and trying to get a low escalation. So ganun din eh. So might as well hold on and preserve what you have and make the most out of that. So I doubt there's escalation next year. There will be more takers next year because of the optimism, but it's not yet the time to do an escalation. It's just really, wow, pera-pera kagad yan eh. It's not yet the right time until we get over this pandemic.
Nicely said. You mentioned about changes, no? And one of them that we all experience is about work from home. What do you think, or how do you think this will really affect in terms of real estate industry, work from home per se, as how companies are adapting? Me myself, I believe, from what I see, 60%, even up and high, 80% are already doing work from home from their offices. What's your take on this? How this will affect a good real estate product?
Okay. By the way, I was looking at the chat here. You may wanna. We can answer that later. I cannot focus on reading and no, but you can probably ask that again later, no, Ronel. I'm sorry. What
Okay.
was your question again? Can you repeat that?
Well, it came from, it's the same thing it came from Ronald Pontoya. Now that work from home arrangements are being applied by companies, what do you think will be a good real estate product to introduce to the market?
Well, since we're all really online, one effect that I've seen as far as there's pros and cons. I'll go with the cons first. The cons is productivity level because with my staff, you cannot control. There's going to be their kids wanting to they have to feed them. And like if they were stuck in the office or in the office during the day, then it's pure focus on what they do. But when you're at home, you cannot avoid getting distracted by your children. So productivity level will not be the same. Although I do emphasize in my operations that you can work 4 hours, but that 4 hours must be very productive. I don't care. It's about getting things done and getting results. Okay. How we present in real estate matter, no? Okay, online videos, that's really the trend. If you have not done it, it's never too late. If you don't have a website, you don't have a presence yet in the social media, it's never too late. Okay, but we really have to adapt. I myself, okay, I realize I've been watching videos. There are some, I tell you, believe ako dito sa mga millennials na to. Okay, or some, even in my, others in my age, no? They've adapted so fast, because it boils down to cost. So if I were to do things right now, I'll get a social media guy. How much do you cost? How much my cost to me monthly? They will upload your video. They will do your online thing. They'll take care. They'll do your Facebook business manager. It's not a joke, huh? But if I was spending 20,000 on advertisements before monthly in Manila Bulletin and others, I definitely got out of Bulletin. So now there's that money waiting to be put elsewhere. So that could go to Carousel, that could go to Lamudi, that could go to Property 24, that could go also now to the person that I would hire. It's like getting a new employee and having them take care of your social media. That is going to be the future. That is a must. That, as I said, in what we do, you're either in it 100% or not. Kasi I'm not thrilled about 50% success. It's 100. It's I always say it's half-ass effort. You get half-ass results.
Okay. Um, Michael Baez is asking about affordable. You made mention earlier about affordable housing as a trend. I recall one of our members is doing a project also all over from down south, Cavite, and he's asking about the trend in sales. If I may share, he himself was saying that he's getting tremendous selling, even double, even triple digits that they're getting, on this. It's really more of how trying to not to lose the client or even trying to give assistance. If you notice, uh, a lot of developers are really extending a lot of sort of credits or even on ways on how to help out just to maintain the account. What's your take on this, Robert?
Well, the housing, that medium cost housing, is just going to continue to grow. No, why? Because people are realizing, well, number one, it's in the infrastructure. The infrastructure has made it feasible for us to travel further. So what was far before isn't anymore. Okay, it's more accessible, and really with malls spreading out to other areas already, one doesn't have to go all the way to Metro Manila anymore. So there's really a divergence of all these new areas to approach it. And also they're looking at this affordability. How can you afford, let's say, a one-bedroom condo at BGC now? It's. I was surprised then when a developer was selling a property in Pampanga, selling at 100,000 per square, and they got the land for 7,000 per square. But their condo development was 100,000 per square. It's like, wow, And there was a take up. It's been sold out. But that's how eager the outside market is, or the in the provincial areas. So I think that is something that more developers will be looking at. So we're still going to continue to see developers going out. We're going to see continued demand for single detached or housing projects with low cost from for the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years. Long run yan. I see that.
Okay, noted. A few more questions, one or two. Question from Miss Barb's Dichosa. Um, since everybody's going out, no, even developers, investors, what do you think is your forecast for Bataan and Zambales? Do you have any idea of their current market price right now, especially in Bataan area like Anvaya Cove?
Okay, it's a slow take up there so far. But with the development of the new Clark, for you guys that have not been to that area, I tell you, BCDA has done quite a bit of development there. They're really taking care, making sure that it's they got all sides, everything covered, from 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 uh, from feeder roads to main roads, infrastructure. They have it going. So that will be a net effect already. Once they do that, apektado lahat yan ng mga sa mga north. Right now, the take-up on beach properties, they're mostly in Batangas. I still have to get an inquiry on Anvaya. But, I grew up going to Bagak, Bataan, and I know that place. And I'm also working on some properties by Subic along the beachfront. No? So, slow take-up, but it's just a matter of time before it starts moving. I see that, kasi it's like, di ba, option 1, option 2, option 3. Option 1 has become expensive. Option 2. So, that side is still, masasabi ko, not yet in the radar. So that's where the buy is, because buy it while it's cheap. Invest there, hold on to it. And once it gets there, people are ano na, then that will trigger investments already.
Okay, thank you for that. One question coming from Miss Erlinda Austria, talking about shifting, no, buyer market. So when do you think um, will we shift from buyer's market to seller's market?
Wow. I still see about at least a year and a half before we shift.
Mhm.
Because next year there will still be some effects. That's when we will see the effects of this pandemic on some businesses. Okay, so that will expound on the sentiment again. Because nagsarado si ganito, nagbenta si ganyan. That will, so I still have to see that because historically, as I see it, if we're look back at financial crisis, even though we are like recovering now, there will still be, bad news travels more than good news always.
Okay.
So there will be some that will be affected next year, fine. So
Okay. Yeah. Well, good point, Robert. Since most of us are into, well, I guess pretty much by this time, where everybody is really into digital marketing, and Erlinda Osia again is asking, so how do you see or your take on the Chinese market?
okay. Um, well, the ones that will be left here or are here now, they're actually adapting to better manners. Okay, and they're really making a big strive to improve on themselves, because they were also told that that's been the problem, no, paying the taxes. As far as their take up on the property, yeah, there will be but I don't think they will be the type that will, like, when the first wave came in. I don't think they'll be the type that will, like, okay, that will offer higher than what's going in the market. They are more knowledgeable now. Okay, and as far as purchases is concerned, um, I see more purchases going probably outside, let's say in the Pampanga, or because there's already a move to Pogos in that area also, from what I hear, no? Okay. Actually, the Pogos have not yet been my market. So I go through some networks of mine. Kasi kung di nyo hawak yung market, you have to know who has the market. So that when you get that property, you just network with that person, no? But from what I've been told, they are they've improved a lot, and whoever's going to be left or whoever will be coming will be a better this time around. Same thing that I can say with Koreans. When the first Koreans came, the first surge of Koreans that time, these were the older Koreans. Now, you have to understand the history of these Koreans. Bakit napakabaksik or napakapastos nila in the beginning? Reason for that is these were the older ones. They were the ones that were under the Japanese. Kinawawa ng mga Hapon yan eh. So it's inept in their inner feelings that they are defensive. Yung mga latter ones that arrived are ready from the industrialized South Korea. Nagkaroon ng edukado na yan. Mga nag-aral na sa Paris yan. I had a very good friend from Korea. Oh, nag-Korea pa. So when he opened up here, his business, he's world class, very proper, very very professional, not like the other ones that came ahead. So that's the way I see the Chinese also.
I think we, if I may say about the Chinese market, well, primarily, me for me per se, as I handle them, yeah, it's true that I get inquiries, I get requirements, but at the end of the day, it's really how you converse with them. So I really have to take that extra step at least to learn, if not at least or even count, no? Because one question coming from Yolanda Asuncion, is it true that the Chinese foreigners, especially the foreigners, especially the Chinese, cannot be allowed easily to come back? Remember earlier on, they were all asked to, or well, actually they all moved out or sort of in an exodus, and to which also the money can they send it to the Philippines are limited. Is it really true? What's your take on this, Robert?
I know that the ones that did come back are having a hard time leaving again China because they're especially alam mo sa China, AI is a major thing. I mean, you walk around, you see it in the videos, they watch every move that you make. Okay, so that's pretty scary. So with regards to them coming back and getting a new visa, I don't think I'm the right person to answer that. I really don't know.
Okay.
I could get
I understand,
answers,
I
but at
understand.
this point, I'm very honest to tell you, I'm at lost with that.
Okay. One more coming from Aldrich Ong. Talking about office spaces, will it still be in demand since many are already adopting work from home setup? What's your
According to
take on
Dave,
that?
I believe so. Also, I agree with David Lichu that there will be more multinationals and there will be other companies that will come in the country. So we're not limited to the Filipinos or to the Chinese that will get that. Maraming papasok dito pa rin. Remember Asia, the tide is going, the economy tide is really going through Asia. But it's moving out of US, it's moving out of Europe, it's all going here. That's why we are now the 29th largest economy in the world. So it's just a matter of time. The projection is by 2050, we're in the top 10 already, Philippines. You got to believe that. You got to believe that, and just hope that this, we have a good government that will continue to, do more good things than that, because that's always been political issues here, which I'm not a I hate politics. We just like results, diba? So you can see, is it good right now? What's happening to the country? I like the infrastructure. Why? Why? The infrastructure has given opportunities to a lot of people. It's given job, employment. It's also given property owners increased values on their property. Now I'm hearing a property owner from Samar wanting to sell their properties, while before, wala yun. I mean, no value, parang latak yung kanilang property. Now there's a value to it because dinaanan na ng infrastructure. So in general, I like what I'm seeing, despite what you're hearing or in the papers or whatever. At the end of the day, I see more activity. I see more people enriching their lives, that are doing that.
Yeah, okay, well said. So with that, it's lunchtime. Robert. We have to put on hold and a break, so we'll have everyone on our break, and then we'll bring you back at around 1 o'clock. So with that, guys, if you have questions, please just put it all in the chat box, and I'll see you later.
Yeah, I'll take a look at the questions also, but I'm
Okay.
sure you're looking at it also. Okay.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong mga tanong. Kung meron man po, please bring them in all in. And have a good lunch.
Thank you, everyone. See you later.
Okay.